Hi everyone, it's time for a new video. Alright, now I'm recording here in my hospital bed in my house, which at present time I can't get up and walk yet, so this is where I have to do it. Now, as a result of that, my family keeps on coming down here and, interrupting now and then. So please excuse the fact that I may have to pause the video and then start up again if they come down and make a bunch of noise. Okay? Okay. Now, today's order of business is how to protect yourself from the cops or whatever, Because let's face it, most of us only have dealings with the cops when it comes to something like traffic tickets, which are unconstitutional, by the way. But so you need to have some idea of how to protect yourself. So I'm going to give you a few ideas based on the constitutional protections that all us U.S. citizens have. Okay? Now, a citizen, it's kind of a oxymoron. Excuse me. But I use that because we all understand what citizen is. And in this case, that's what we're dealing with, your constitutional rights of protection. All right, so let's start off with the First Amendment. Now, first I'm going to read the amendment to you, and then we'll kind of go through it a little bit. All right. The first one is, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances.
Son, you want to watch TV?
Okay, that was one of those interruptions. Never ceases. It's like Grand Central Station here. All right, so let's get into the amendment itself. It says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That's pretty cut and dry what that one is. In other words, they can't mess with your religion. They can't control it. They can't stop you from practicing your religion. And they can't stop anybody from exercising that right. Now, the only trouble is that they do another thing instead. They still control the churches. It's called the 503, IRS 503 document. And that makes it so that it's a non-taxable thing. But believe me, it's convoluted, and they use it to control the churches and what they say. So they're still doing it. They're still interfering with religion. But you agree to it, that's it. Then you contract. Okay, and the same thing goes for abridging freedom of speech. That means that they can't limit it. They can't tell you, like, you ever see this stuff when they have a thing at the colleges and they go, okay, this is a free speech zone over here, but over here, it's not a free speech zone, so keep your mouth shut. No, no. There's there's no caveat here. There's nothing in here that modifies that. They can't abridge your freedom of speech. That means they can't handle it, they can't control it, they can't tell you to shut up like the cops will do when you have them when they stop on the side of the road and you start giving them a ration of shit. No, you're well within your rights. And this, I mean, believe me, they'll knock you in the head with the billy club, you know, enforcing the fact that you need to shut up. So you got to be careful when you deal with the cops. But the thing is, you've got to set yourself up for a lawsuit later. Don't argue with these people. Don't fight with them. Don't be a smartass. Won't get you anywhere. You get more with honey than you do with vinegar. So what you got to do is you've got to um, treat them fairly and don't be a nitpick. It doesn't pay. But you need to take your camera and you need to record everything that goes down from the second you meet up with the cop all the way until you get to court. Okay? You got to do that, folks, because that camera is your witness. So do it. The damn cameras are getting cheap. You know, I mean, it's crazy. I used to have one that I used to sell for like 40, $50. It's a nice little one that has it has two cameras in it. One you can face forward, the other one you can face backwards, or one you can aim towards the window when the cop comes, and one towards the back so you can see the cop what they're doing behind you. And if you go on to eBay, you can find those type of cameras. They mount up to your dash, and awesome little things. And you've got two recordings, one this way, one that way, and it works beautifully, beautiful. And it wasn't not that expensive. Now I've seen them on there for less than $30. So go onto eBay and find one and get it. You need it, but you also have the phone that's the thing that's in your phone, which is a good little item to have your phone camera. Except that's right in your face. You're holding it up like that. But I've seen a different one that's called the cop cam or something like that. It's just a little 1 inch square camera. It has night vision in it. It has you can set it up so that it records by motion. If there's a motion, it'll start recording. That kind of stuff. And you just tape it. You just clip it onto your lapel, and you can get two of those for $40. Well worth it because you can stick one in your hat. If you mount it on the inside of your baseball cap with a hole there, you can have it running inside there, and they won't even know you're doing it. So I definitely do that. All right. So the freedom of speech thing, they can't abridge your freedom of speech. They've they've got to let you talk, and but they won't do it. And the same thing goes with the judge in the courtroom. He'll tell you to sit down and shut up. No. Oh, he's going to bust your chops when you don't shut up. And now you've got witnesses. You got a witness there uh, that he violated your rights. Now, also that goes for the freedom of the press, um, and the right of the people to peaceably assemble. Well, yeah, that that's important, and redress of grievances is too. But you're going to use the other parts of it a hell of a lot more than you use that. Now, the next one, the Second Amendment. Let me get this thing so I can read it. Yeah. The Second Amendment is a fairly simple one. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state and the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, infringed is a word that we don't use a lot anymore, but you get the meaning. They can't mess with it. It's your right. That's why when you see all these people, which I've been watching on YouTube a little bit lately, is the open carry people, you know, where they put their guns on their hip and they put a rifle or AR-15, whatever, around their neck and they walk around town with it. They're well within their rights. First of all, they can't do anything to infringe on your right to do that. Background checks, all that crap, licenses. You can't have this kind of a magazine. You can't have that kind of a magazine. This gun fires too many bullets too fast. Why don't they like that? Because if we ever need to use it against them, yeah, they ain't gonna like it. However, they're not gonna like that a bit if you use it against them. So that's why they object to you having them. Never mind all this stuff about the people getting shot in schools and stuff like that. A lot of those are false flags. Unfortunately, and some people do get hurt, no doubt about it. But it's it's a false flag in the sense that it's preordained, it's planned out. The deep state does that whenever it just seems funny whenever they have some kind of gun legislation in the Congress or in the state Congress. One of these events will happen. That's because they want to influence the vote that's going down in the Congress. So most of these things, unfortunately, have been planned by the deep state. Just like this caravan thing coming up here. George Soros is paying for all those people to be transported to the border. Unfortunately, I think it backfired because it made the people wake up and see we need a fence. Definitely. And Trump wants to use at the very worst, he'd like to take some money out of the Defense Department budget and put the wall up with that money. And it only makes sense because it's for defense. You get it? Defense. Okay, bad joke. All right, let's go on here. So you got the right to bear arms. They can't mess with that. And when the cop starts taking your gun away, just record it, talk to him, and say, "Look, you realize you're interfering with my right to bear arms, right? So if you want to continue infringing upon my rights, uh, you might be opening yourself up to a lawsuit. If that's what you want, okay. But if you don't want that, then you better stop." Okay. Now the next one is the Third Amendment, and that one is, we're not really going to use that uh, too much anymore. The, that was see King George back in 1776 and stuff like that. That time period, he sent over his British soldiers, and he would have the people who live here take these soldiers into our own houses and give them room and board. Excuse me. Well, that's a no-no, and the founding fathers put that in there to stop that from happening. All right, now the Fourth Amendment. Fourth Amendment is very, very important to all you guys. I'm about to be interrupted again, so hold on a second. Okay, that was another interruption. Anyway, here we go. The Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. All right, let's go through that one. All right, the right of the people to be secure in their persons. That means whatever you got on you, or all your possessions, um, they're not supposed to touch them. The houses, that means they're not supposed to come into your house. They're not supposed to search your house for anything. Papers, just what it says, your checkbooks, all that shit, they're not supposed to be looking at it. And the effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Well, if they don't have a warrant to look in your house, it's an unreasonable search and seizure. It's against the Constitution. It's against your rights. Now, the next part is very important. No warrants shall issue. You know what a warrant is? Warrant for your arrest, something like that, right? But upon probable cause, supported by oath and affirmation. Now, you see what that says? In order to get the warrant, they have to have somebody who writes out a complaint and goes to the judge with it and said, "This guy punched me in the face and left me laying in the street." Okay? Something like that. That is a complaint. Now he has to sign it. His name is on it. So he then has an oath and affirmation. And without it, they can't get a warrant. They can't put the cart before the horse. They can't arrest you, and believe me, when they come and they say that you're detained, no. If you look that up in Black's Law Dictionary, it says all the different words that mean arrest. Detained is one of them. It means you've been arrested, and they can't arrest you without a warrant. So when they say you're detained, you just ask them, detained for what? You know, what's the charge against me? And, and just question them like that, because you're going to find out. So they can't put the cart before the horse. They can't arrest you and then go get a warrant for your arrest. Doesn't work that way. So when that cop stops you on the side of the road, he's already violated your constitutional protections. And that's when, as soon as he does it, you need to say, you realize, Mr. Police Officer, that you're violating my Fourth Amendment right to illegal searches and seizures and stuff like that. And if you get them to admit that, because a lot of times they'll say, don't give me that constitutional crap. I don't care about your rights. That's all you need right there. So when you get to court, that's why you don't fight with these guys. Once they've admitted something like that, you got them dead to rights. So then you just shut up. And let's see here, the oath and affirmation. If they don't have it, they can't have a warrant. If they don't have a warrant, they can't arrest you. And if they do arrest you without the warrant, now you can sue them. Believe me, you can make money just fighting these guys in court. All right. So now the next one is the Fifth Amendment, and the Fifth Amendment's a really, really important one too as well. It says no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in land or naval forces or in the militia, when in active service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be tried twice in jeopardy of life and limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Okay, that's a mouthful, but let's go through it here. No person should be held for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment from a grand jury. They can't arrest you unless they have a presentment from the grand jury or an indictment. It can't be done. They do it every day, don't get me wrong, but all you got to do is speak up, and you can call this out, and you can get your case dismissed because of it. Yeah, you can't be tried for the same thing twice, life or limb. Now you can't be compelled to witness against yourself, nor can you be deprived of life, liberty, or property. In other words, they can't throw you in jail. They can't take your car on the side of the road and impound it like they do. The life part, yeah, they've been known to kill people. So, just for mouthing off to them. So, that's very important to remember. You don't mouth off to them. because they're liable to shoot your ass for nothing. But the whole thing about it is when you're stopped by the cop, let's just say you don't have any license, you don't have any registration, you don't have any insurance. Well, the first thing the cop's going to do is he's going to take your car away from you and have the tow truck driver drive it down to the impound yard. Well, he just stole your car. That's a grand theft auto because he didn't have a warrant. It's dirty all the way down the track. So you've instantly got lawsuits against the cop for taking your car without the proper due process. And you've also got a lawsuit against the tow truck company for taking your property without your consent. That means you can fine them instead of you having to go down there and pay, $300 or $400 to get your car out of the impound yard. You're gonna owe they're gonna owe you shitloads of money because you're gonna sue them for it. Yeah, it's gonna be a little time consuming, but when you do this stuff and you go to small claims court, like I don't know if I'd recommend going for big amounts of money because it's a little bit unreasonable. But in a small claims court, you can get anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000, depending on your state and how much they have set up for that for small claims. But even if it's $5,000, and you sue the cop for taking it, and you sue the impound yard for taking it and holding it, that if it's only, even if you can only sue for $5,000, that's $10,000 you're going to make off of that. So maybe it's worth it if they, if they do that to you. But you've got to be willing to stand up for yourself, and don't be afraid of the judge. Don't be afraid of those people. All they have is a suit on. That's all they are. Is just a guy in a suit, with a robe on. Don't be afraid of them. They're just a person like you or me. But they're the ones trying to take your property and stuff without paying for it. So that's a very important one. Let's see. The Sixth Amendment. Yeah, the Sixth Amendment is another one of the most important ones. The rights of accused in criminal prosecutions. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. That doesn't mean that you're going to sit in jail for 90 days waiting for a trial. That doesn't follow the lines of what that says. And you need an impartial jury, of the state and district from where you live, and the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witness against him, and to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have assistance of counsel for his defense. All right, we're going to go through that one a little bit. Criminal prosecutions, speedy trial, public trial. It's against the Constitution what they do to some guys. Now, here's what's going to happen. You get into court and you start giving them all the answers that they don't like, and they know that they have to deal with you, and they don't want any witnesses when they deal with you. Okay, so what they do is they tell you to have a seat, and they wait until you're the last case for the day. Everybody else is cleared out. That's not a public trial, okay? When you don't have any witnesses out there to say that you got railroaded, that's not public. So that's a violation of your rights. Then if you have a jury, it has to be impartial. Well, let me explain something to you. Your case has gone down through the thing and it's getting ready to go to the jury. The jury's sitting over there. The judge leans over and he tells them, okay, here's the law and this is how you go. No, no, that's not impartial. And it's against your rights. But you have to understand this stuff in order to object to it. As soon as he starts talking to that jury, and he's tampering with the jury because he's telling them they have to do it in a certain way. And the fact is that the jury has no limitations. If you're on a jury, they can't tell you how you're going to do it, how you're going to reach a decision. You just talk and you decide amongst yourselves how you're going to do it. So when the judge does that, he's interfering with your jury, and it's a mistrial. And you just have to speak up and say it. Let's see. All right. Now the judge, according to this Sixth Amendment, he's required to inform you of the nature and cause of the accusations brought against you. Now, that means that before the trial even gets started, you have a right to tell him, Judge, you know, I don't understand here. Do you think you can explain to me the nature and cause of the thing? And he'll just mumble jumble. But you have to ask a few questions. And I have a nice criminal script that you need to have, so that you can ask the right questions and put the judge in the position where he can't screw you over. And to confront the witnesses against you. Now, that means you ever drive through one of these things and you get a camera ticket? No, that's against the law. Yeah, because the camera is the witness, not the cop that wrote the ticket or the person that sent the complaint. The camera has to be able to speak in court. So all you need to do is call the camera to the stand. They're going to go, don't be ridiculous, the camera can't come here. Well, the camera is accusing me, and I have a right to face my accuser. So please put the camera on the stand. You'll make your point. And the other problem is that in a court case like that, there's the complaint that they never show you the verified complaint. And when you say you have a verified complaint, that means that somebody signed it. Okay? Somebody has an oath and affirmation that says you did this here and did this on this day. That's an oath and affirmation sworn out, which is a verified complaint. The cop writes out a ticket, gives that to the judge, and says, this is the complaint. But see, there's a problem here, because when you look at your court cases, when you get it in the mail, it's going to have the plaintiff is the state of Massachusetts or Rhode Island, whatever state you live in. The state uh, of Massachusetts versus you. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that the state is the complaining party. Well, wait a minute, you got a ticket here, and the complaining party is the police officer. So something's not matching up here. Okay? The signature that's on that ticket is not the same signature that's on your court papers. So therefore, somebody's bringing fraud upon the court. Now, that cop, there's a big problem with what he did. He's writing out a complaint for somebody else, not himself. He's writing out the complaint for the state. Well, how can he do that? See, that's called, what do they call that? It's hearsay. When you and hearsay is not admissible in court under any circumstances. So, you just stand up and you go, I object, Your Honor. He goes, what? You should go, that's all hearsay. Because he wrote out the complaint for another person. You can't do that. The only person that can do that is the one that swore out the complaint, the oath and affirmation. Now, that brings us to another problem with the court papers. If you look down the bottom, those court papers are going to be signed by somebody else. They're going to be signed by the prosecutor. Now, the prosecutor likes to say that he is the plaintiff, but no, you see, it all comes down to the little things that you can kill them with. The little things. That prosecutor signs that complaining papers, but the name of the plaintiff is the state of New Hampshire or whatever. Now, something's wrong there, because the signature at the bottom of that paper should be signed by the state of New Hampshire, but it's not. It's signed by the prosecutor. Bingo, somebody's impersonating the plaintiff, and that's fraud. Okay? Anything that has fraud in it is wiped out. And you can do that right in court. You can tell the judge, that sounds like fraud to me, Judge. Doesn't that kill everything? It does. And if they just railroad you anyway, well, once you bring it up on appeal in the appeals court, it's going to be all over. You could take that thing right to the Supreme Court. Just very simple. Now, the next one we got is civil trials. It says suits are common law. They like to say common law doesn't exist, but friends, the Constitution is a common law document, and our whole system is based on common law. How can they say it doesn't exist? They can't. Anyway, it says that the value of controversy shall be $20 or more, and that would give you the right to have a trial by jury. And that's pretty much all of that. Then we got 8 and 9, but then they're not stuff that you're going to bring up. But now we got a big one. Let me just close this out here. Okay, where the hell is it? Oh, here it is. Now, the 11th Amendment is extremely important, and I'm going to read it to you. It's a little. This one's a little bit lengthy, but believe me, it's a doozy. Let me blow this up here, and we'll. There we go. Shrink this up a little bit here. Okay. There. Now I can see myself there. All right. Now the 11th Amendment. It's your immunity clause. That's right. You are immune to these people. And I'm going to explain why. Okay, the 11th Amendment under the U.S. Constitution reads as follows. The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit or law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subject of any foreign state. Okay, so that means you are a person and you live in New Hampshire, let's say. That means somebody from New York, they can't file anything against you, and neither can anybody from the United States, the federal courts. No, none of them can do it. And there's a good reason for it. On December 9th, 1945, the International Organization Immunities Act relinquished every public office of the United States to the United Nations. This law makes all public officials foreign citizens, barring them from judicial power. All public officials are administrative agents of the U.S. corporation. They have no judicial power whatsoever. Did you hear that? Now these people, because of this Immunities Act, they all have to give up their citizenship when they take the oath of office. That means for judges, everything, police department, everything. They're all foreign agents as far as you're concerned. 22 CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, foreign relationship states that an oath is required to take office. Okay, so they're not just, an oath of office is not just something that's arbitrary. They have to do it or they can't take office. Title 8 USC 1481 states, once the oath of office is taken, citizenship is relinquished. As soon as they take that oath of office for any state, federal, or whatever kind of job that they're taking, police officer, whatever, they have to relinquish their citizenship. They're no longer citizens of the United States, but they're citizens of a foreign country, especially where it goes considered you're foreign to them and they can't charge you with anything. Let's see. Yeah. Title 22 USC Foreign Relations and Intercourse, Chapter 11 identifies all public officials as foreign agents. which means they can't interact with you. All judicial power of the inferior courts comes from the Judiciary Act of 1789, as did the Attorney General position. Judicial power comes from Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution. The 11th Amendment removed all judicial power in law, equity, and contracts, and the right of the state to bring suit against the people. The positions of the Attorney General and Prosecutor of both the United States and the several states come under the judicial branch, not the executive branch of the government. All attorneys come under the judicial branch and are judicial officers under the Supreme Court, not under Secretary of State as licensed professionals, which means they can only represent the court and not the people or the state. So that means if they're writing up a complaint against you as the state of New Hampshire, they can't do it because they can't represent anybody like that. They're not allowed to. The 11th Amendment removed all judicial power from the inferior courts in the prosecutor's office, as well as all court officials in law, equity, and so forth. The 11th Amendment also makes a foreign state's separation from the position of public office positions to throw off the people. The people have 11th Amendment immunity because there is no judicial power of the inferior courts, and the people have foreign sovereign immunity. I'm telling you, man, this is some powerful shit. The defendant petitioner holds the inherent right of the 11th Amendment, which states in part, the judicial power shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted by a foreign state. That means that the guy that you pay your taxes to down at the courthouse or whatever, he's fraudulently taking your money. They can't do that because they're foreign agents. All you gotta do is call them out on it. And until they prove otherwise, which they can't, then they're a foreign agent to you and they can't charge you with anything. Municipal, county, or state court lacks jurisdiction to hear any case under foreign state definitions. Coming from the 11th Amendment under the U.S. Constitution, this jurisdiction lies with the United States District Court under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, statutes pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1330. Pretty much says the whole ball of wax. Let's see. The fact that public officials are not citizens, but rather foreign citizens, all of the cases must be dismissed because the court lacked and lacks jurisdiction to enforce judicial power. This court is an administrative court and not a criminal court. In other words, no judicial power makes this court an administrative court. Also, this Procedures Act proves that the court is an administrative agency. The Administrative Procedures Act, Title V, Government Organization and Employees, Administrative Procedure Act, Part 1, the agencies generally, Chapter 5, Chapter 2, Administrative Procedures 551, Definitions for the purpose of this subchapter. Agency means each authority of the government of the United States, whether or not it is within subject to review by another agency. So, when you get the time, read this thing over by yourself. Read that over and get the idea that they don't have jurisdiction. They never have jurisdiction when they're taking you into court over nothing. You smoke some pot and you get caught. Don't matter. They don't have jurisdiction. And jurisdiction is something that you can bring up at any time, even after conviction. And they have to prove that they have jurisdiction. And as far as the 11th Amendment is concerned, they don't have anything. They have no jurisdiction whatsoever. So you guys need to keep this stuff in mind and do a little studying so that you got this stuff in your head. And then you can go from there. All right? Well, I've taken up about enough of your time for now. So I'll catch you later. Thank you. Bye.